Arcane has some scenes that ended up on the editorial chopping block, and that list includes moments that were part of the series announcement. In case you don't remember, the announcement was part of the 10-year anniversary of Riot. You can find the link in the description if you want to check it out. In this announcement, they included some scenes that were never part of the show with a very interesting individual. The tall head guy. This guy was never part of the show, or at least not in any meaningful way in scenes of his own, which is why the community thought about some theories. Even I thought about a theory or two. Do you remember when Finn wants to get Sevika to switch sides so that they can remove Silco? He references someone who's a bigger fish than Silco, but we never get to see who's that person, who's that individual. At first, I thought the tall head guy is the big fish Finn is referencing to Sevika. Ultimately, he is only part of a story that was told by Vander to Jules and Vern in Season 1 Episode 1 when they were trying to get Huck to accept a bad deal. Christian Linke, the co-creator of Arcane, had a conversation with Necrit a while ago where he talked about the famous guy with a hat, and this is what he had to say.
In the original trailer, there were like some characters and scenes that didn't make it into Arcane. Was there like significant cut content that was supposed to make it?
In the pilot, so that, you know, the famous man with the hat?
Yeah.
He was actually part of, so, you know, you have the scene with when Vander talks to Jules and Vern in the last drop in the beginning. And in the original pilot, that was actually a pretty long scene where he basically, you know, they're actually pressuring Huck into like accepting a bad deal. And he sits down and basically is like, hey, let me tell you a little story about someone who tried to do something similar. Right? Here was this guy who thought he's some kind of, you know, edgy guy, comes along, and before he knows it, he loses a few limbs. You know, and so I was like, okay, you know, so just so you know.
Right.
And so eventually, I think there was like some kind of version where like people were just like, okay, how does this, you know, I think for League players, I think there's a desire to just kind of like see every detail and learn about all these things. And I really like the scene. It kind of ended up on the editorial chopping block. You know, we kind of had to find like the structure of the pilot. But that was that.
You've heard it right here. Personally, whenever I listened to that video for the first time, I was very surprised to find out that the tall head guy was basically not that important. Because, as I said, I thought he would end up being the next Ken Baron boss, but it seems like Renata Glask is going to be the one to replace Silco, even if Jinx doesn't believe it's possible.
You'll never fill Silco's shoes.
Well, maybe one day we will get to see the entire editorial chopping block. I don't think they have anything to lose, but I think it would be a miss if they didn't introduce all of that in a full release of Arcane. And if they don't want to do that, I hope they want to continue the story of this region. I think it's an interesting region, and they don't have to necessarily tell the story through a TV show, an animated TV show. They can do that through a novel or other options. Amanda Overton, one of the writers from Arcane, was willing to write a book about Victor, and of course, she can write about whatever she wants, but instead of a boring character, they should maybe focus on writing the story of Piltover and Zone during the 7-year time skip. I'm saying that because I believe in the show we didn't get enough of Piltover and Zone. As a zone, you have a lot of story elements you can tell, and I think it would be very interesting. Anyways, with all of that being said, you can subscribe to the channel. Thanks for watching.